We're out here at the farm today because it's really nice weather. It's like 70 degrees in the middle of January. Taking the much needed time to clean up a bunch of the shit that had piled up around here. I kind of let my dumpster diving habit get the best of me and brought home a bunch of crap that just I ain't never gonna use. So we're making trips to the dump now, but wanted to kind of show you guys some of the results of last year's experiments. One of the main purposes I have for the farm is to find creative and constructive reuses for waste materials. Found a really good way to utilize leaves and mulch and stuff that people leave out by the road. I just dumped the bags of leaves in the pig pen here, and see, this is what it looks like after a couple weeks. They mix it in with all their shit and with the leftover food that they don't eat, and then I throw new leaves on there and they rustle them all about and mix them up, and I just keep adding leaves every time it starts to look wet and get stinky again, and that stuff breaks down extremely well. Let's take a look. Here's the pen that I kept them in all year last year, or most of the year anyways, and as you can see, I probably added about, to this little pen here, I probably added about, I don't know, at least 75, maybe 100 bags of leaf mulch, plus, you know, the 50 gallons of produce every day that they eat. And they got this to where after it's broken down for about 6 months, 8 months, it is just some of the best compost that money can buy. And so I've been going through here and scooping it out and spreading it through the garden beds, making different beds. I'm planting a bunch of garlic over there with it, and it did really well. But another interesting advantage of using the produce for making the mulch is that everywhere I spread it out, I got a bunch of volunteer peppers and squash and tomato plants that grew up. So I didn't really get too many fruits off of them, but it's just kind of interesting. You really don't have to, you can just put it everywhere, and then immediately all the seeds sprout up and create a good microenvironment, and then when whatever you planted in the bed grows up, you can weed around it. Some of the mulch pits are looking really good. Most of these mulch pits didn't grow very well this year because they were still too fresh and breaking down, but like, this is great soil, so next year it should do really well. And these I just added whatever mulch I could get my hands on, bags of leaves, bags of pine needles, grass clippings, produce, everything. So a lot of these beds should be broken down well enough to grow good next year. But now one of the things that I did learn when putting down a mulch pit, you can lay down a bunch of cotton clothing and books, newspapers, cardboard along the bottom, and then you pile your mulch on top of that, and that cardboard and books and all the paper products and stuff will break down really well, and they actually kind of keep the weeds from growing up through it for the first year. So a lot of the clothing and shit, I you know, there's just a bunch of different experiments going on out here, but it really doesn't break down that well unless it's buried or in contact with the soil. And then in here, this is another experiment. This is just layers and layers of cardboard, just layered it up as time went by, and we'll see how well this started to break down. See, down here on the bottom, look at it, there's earthworms in it. Down here on the bottom where it's actually in contact with the soil, it's starting to break down really well, but still it's not breaking down as well as it does if you pile mulch on top of it. See, down here it's kind of starting to break up. So I'm actually not going to do this method anymore unless maybe in a garden path or something. If you lay down the cardboard in the garden path and then put mulch over it, kind of acts as a weed barrier. So that's just some of the results of the experiments, trying to get everything cleaned up out here and make it look a little bit nicer, because like I say, I got out of hand with the dumpster diving and just brought home a bunch of crap. Now this is definitely the best use that I've found for recycling cardboard, is just like in my video about growing mushrooms on cardboard. I buried in between the layers of cardboard some oyster mushroom clippings, And this is actually oyster mushroom mycelium right here. You can tell because it has a really distinctive sweet smell and the way that the rhizomorphs are growing. But this whole area right here has live oyster culture in it. See? Kind of running through all the different layers. There's a bunch of it in here. So I'm actually going to use this to try to make a oyster mushroom mulch bed. I'll put a bunch of wood chips on top of it and see if we can't get it to take off like that.